I want to go back to Grenada to teach the Cubans how to fight. They let America take over, complaining about Reagan's might.
The following is part 4 of a 5-part series of a somewhat comprehensive historical account of the events which constituted the collapse of the Grenada March 13th, 1979 to October 19th, 1983 revolution. Please be advised that the following is taken from Chapter 11 of my still-to-be-published account of the history of Grenada, titled, This is My Island. The events that led to Thanksgiving Day, 25th October. The events as they unfolded after the madness of October 19th, with the execution of the Prime Minister and quite a few of his cabinet ministers and close aides, would have no doubt horrified the outside world and must have helped to catalyze the actions which followed. The 4-day curfew, which was announced on October 19th, caught many without food in their homes, and the granting of a 4-hour reprieve in between, though welcomed, was nowhere close to adequate to obtain what was needed, since the queues at the shops or stores or even supermarkets were too long and exhausting. Grenada gained a reputation for being the tiny island in the Caribbean which shook the world. Many locals wished there was never an October 1983, and others wished nobody remembers 1983. Whatever anyone may think of that particular year, 1983, it cannot be denied that it was a year of action and suspense, which climaxed in horror. On October 20th, Caribbean leaders voiced their outrage on behalf of all the peoples of the region. Jamaica, under the leadership of Edward Seaga, broke off diplomatic relations with Grenada, and Trinidad and Tobago, under the leadership of then George Chambers, imposed economic sanctions and slapped visa restrictions on any Grenadian wishing to travel to Trinidad. On October 21st, the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, the OECS, held an emergency meeting in Barbados. They agreed to remove Grenada from the OECS. President Ronald Reagan of the United States was not in the mood to jeopardize the safety and security of just under 1,000 American citizens who were based at the Offshore Medical University in Grenada. He therefore sent a naval fleet of 11 ships and 2,000 Marines off Grenada. On October 22nd, CARICOM, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Belize, the Bahamas, Antigua, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dominica, St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Kitts, Nevis and Montserrat held an emergency meeting in Trinidad and Tobago. On October 23rd, it was agreed at that summit that Grenada be suspended from CARICOM and that all sea and air links with Grenada be suspended. October 24th, Grenadians were freed from the 24-hour shoot-to-kill curfew, and a few who turned out to work wore mourning clothes. Many offices remained closed as that day was used to complete panic shopping. On October 25th, the United States, together with regional armed forces, on the invitation of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, the OECS, Jamaica and Barbados, intervened in Grenada's affairs under the pretext of restoring democracy to the Spice Isle. The chairperson of the OECS and Prime Minister of Dominica, Dame Eugenia Charles, claimed that the military invasion was at the request of Governor General Sir Paul Scoon, who himself had undergone the same horrors as the general public during these 96 hours of house arrest through General Hudson Austin's RMC curfew. Fighting ensued and continued for a few days as the U.S. bombed certain strategic sections of the island's capital, which were believed to be heavily armed by the Revolutionary Military Council. The might of the United States, coupled with the confused state in which the Cubans found themselves on the island without any command from Castro to intervene, helped to prescribe the victory the Americans enjoyed during the early days of the intervention. The unassuming capacity of the state of Grenada's fighting might caught the Americans by surprise. Their arrival in Grenada with outdated tourist maps, which lacked relevant details for accuracy, proved a hindrance to the U.S., who suffered casualties. 19 men were recorded as lost in the Grenada battle and are today remembered by a monument erected on the grounds of the St. George's University in True Blue St. George's. It is believed by many that the Americans lost more than 19 men in Grenada, since at the same time the bombing of American troops in Lebanon had taken place, and casualties from Grenada intervention may have been thrown for convenience in that Middle East lot to save embarrassment. Quite a number of U.S. helicopters were brought down by anti-aircraft firepower as follows. One which crash-landed in the Tarntine playing field, and its occupants who came out surrendering being slain at the hands of the local military. Another on Grandans Beach, one near the Calabash Hotel in Lansapine, and one which started its descent off Fort George, completing its journey near the Pandy Beach. There was another which is reported to have been brought down in the Camp Calavini area. During the intense military onslaught, key military strongholds of the PRG-RMC were bombed. Fort Rupert, now Fort George, had its share of heavy artillery bombardment. Survivors were seen scampering for their lives. In many areas of Grenada, villagers reported that members of the People's Revolutionary Army who took part in the fight to defend the coup of October 19th left their posts, and while running they stripped themselves of their uniforms, changing into garments they would have found on villagers' clotheslines. Villagers who could not have afforded to purchase groceries except on a once-per-month basis, as they depend heavily on their monthly salaries to do so, took to looting supermarkets. The activity of looting got out of hand and spread to hardware departments and even dry goods stores. All this was happening while fighting between the Americans and what was left of the PRA, the People's Revolutionary Army, was at its worst. Many of the members of the People's Revolutionary Army, the PRA, fled the scene of fighting when the real firepower of the U.S. was employed, with fighters dropping guided missiles on strategic areas. It is reported that the coordinates for the precise location of Radio Free Grenada, RFG, the island's lone radio station located in the heart of the tourist belt, were given to the SS Guam, which was located way offshore. It was countdown time for RFG, whose hours were numbered. Very shortly, RFG was no more. A search ensued to round up all members of the RMC and close aides of the Politburo Central Committee and the Organization for Revolutionary Education and Liberation, OREL, and on October 29th, Bernard Cord, who allegedly triggered the arrest and execution of Maurice Bishop, was cut. Governor General Sir Paul Scoon addressed Grenadians for the first time since the execution of Bishop and the subsequent American-led military intervention. He urged Grenadians to return to work and children to attend school beginning Monday, October 31st, 1983. General Hudson Austin, head of the Revolutionary Military Council, was captured the day before Grenadians returned to an almost normal life as requested by the Governor General in his address. By November 3rd, U.S. troops began leaving. The foregoing was an account of the events that led to Thanksgiving Day, 25th October.
I want to go back to Grenada to teach the Cubans how to fight. They let America take over, complaining about Reagan's might.